Davos, because we got a lot of big cues from there. Bharat Forge's Kalyani is very optimistic about growth prospects of his company. His optimism was fueled by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Make in India speech, which he believes is a game changer.
I think the focus is more on India. The focus is on the growth story that's beginning to take place there. And I think that's where the direction is. So I would not call, that the mood here is in any way despondent or any way pessimistic. I think it's realistic, yes. But volatility is a reality.
Okay, so since you're saying that the focus will be on India, give me a sense of what kind of growth you anticipate seeing. I'm not even asking you the next 5 years, in the next financial year or even if this calendar year. So, what is it that you see as far as growth is concerned?
Look, we've had a fairly large amount of headwinds in the last 2-3 years in business. Most businesses have had these headwinds. I think we have bottomed out. I've said this before. We're beginning to see growth coming back into our business. So I think our quarters will now start reflecting this. And I think next year we should see a double-digit growth coming into the business, but largely on the back of all the new things that we are doing for opportunities that have now come about in India, largely because this whole Make in India theme that the Prime Minister has put into place is a game changer.
Okay, so that was just positive statements coming in from Kalyani, but here's another person Shireen caught up with who gave us some very tangible numbers about his investments. I'm referring to Tulsi Tanti, the founder of Suzlon Energy.
2017, the industries in India particularly, if you see, it's growing very, very strongly. Last 2 years, the renewable space is growing almost 100% growth. So 2014 to 15, it's a $2.5 billion investment to $5 billion and $5 billion to $10 billion in the current financial year. So the last 2 years, India is growing in a renewable space, more than 100% growth year-on-year goes. Our plan, which you talk really, it's very clear for the next 5 years, how much India will add additional capacity in a wind sector. Today is the total install base is 28 gigawatt is there. Going forward in the next 5 to 6 years, 32 gigawatt capacity will be added based on the Prime Minister target of 175 gigawatt by 2020. 60 gigawatt has to come from the wind sector. So based on this target, we are also very equipped and more interested to utilize our more and more capacity to build. So 15,000 megawatt is our plan for the next 5 years to build the capacity in the country. But most of the project going forward also we are bringing a new system technology integrations of the wind, solar, the hybrid solutions. So that's the focus area is driving.
So 15,000 megawatts over the next 5 years?
Next 5 years,
okay.
Yes.
I also want to get an update from you as far as your debt position is concerned, because you had articulated that you would like to bring down debt by about 50-odd%.
Correct.
Also an update as far as the CDR process is concerned. Where do things currently stand, and by when will you be out of CDR?
No, as you know, the last year we have sold out our the large subsidiary of the Germany, the Aripower, and also we have exited for our investment in Hansen. So both the acquisition we have sold out, and we have reduced our debt very clearly.
And we have snow.
The snowfall is happening, and we have lost. We have reduced the 50% of our debt in the last April. So now we are very comfortable. It's just $1 billion debt is there.
Okay, well, comfortable as far as debt is concerned. Just want to throw up the Asian markets because some of them are trading in the red this morning. And the one that we are most, correlated with, Hong Kong, it's down about 150 points. So are the other Asian markets actually, most of them in the red. Shanghai is the only one holding up just fine. So just keep an eye out on that. SGX Nifty also indicating that we may be just a tad bit, volatile in trade. But take a quick break. When we come back, our technical gurus will tell us what we should be doing on the last day of the trading week. Ashwini Gujral, Mitesh Thakkar and Prakash Gaba will be with us.
Welcome back. Chances are that we are in for a bit of a rough opening. The SGX Nifty is indicating 20-point downtake. We'll have to deal with weakness in Axis Bank and maybe some collateral damage in ICICI Bank as well, where the ADR was down 2% overnight. So that could have a bit of an impact on the market. But would that be a buying opportunity actually? Or has the market trend turned? Let's ask our technical experts, Ashwini Gujral, Mitesh Thakkar and Prakash Gaba with us. Good morning, gentlemen. Ashwini, so the market has been narrowing now for last many days. Yesterday, of course, as you pointed out, we had an inside day. What's the call for the day today on the Nifty and the Bank Nifty?
Good morning, Anuj. I think given that it's only a 20-point gap down, I think we need to see the pre-open. In case the Bank Nifty shows anything more than 100, 120 points, gap down, then you probably go with the trend. But if it's your 50, 70 point style gap down, then maybe the market is not taking such a bad view of Axis Bank results or the ADR, etc. So the idea basically is that this is a market where there is no follow through. So I would play trend for the day only if there's a strong gap down. If it's a mild kind of gap down, then I'm probably willing to buy the Bank Nifty around, say, 19,000 type of zones. And maybe by end of the day, we could have a bit of short covering and take the market higher. So overall, short point is that it's likely to be more range bound than trending. A trending day will at least see a 50-point gap down on SGX, etc. So 83.80, 19,000. If I get those levels, I'll probably try to go long on the market, because breakouts and breakdowns haven't really worked in the last few days.
Okay. Morning, Ashwini. Is there a trade in Axis Bank itself, assuming it starts gap down?
See, for me, the trade is that, all this that was out yesterday is known. So, does the stock start reversing? Do the large hands, they believe that, okay, the worst is getting over, and post the early morning gap down, strong buying comes into Axis. That is the big rewarding trade. Trying to go short today on Axis, post the news flow, is a useless trade. So watch out what happens on Axis. If it starts trading at the highs of the day within half an hour, then probably the story has been discounted to a large extent.
Okay, that's interesting, because the stock in any case has fallen already about 25% since the month of September. Mitesh Thakkar and Prakash Gaba are also with us. Prakash, you want to give us your view on the index today, considering that the SGX Nifty is down as well as there's weakness that we expect in Axis?
Good morning, Sonia. Before I speak on Nifty, let me go into the Bank Nifty part of it. Bank Nifty had a target of 19,277. Day before, yesterday, I think we have seen a high of 19,277. So the targets on Bank Nifty is achieved. Do I see any up move from here? I don't see any up move from here. We could see a stall here in Bank Nifty, one. Now, Nifty, last couple of days, I've been speaking about a target of 8435. Now, yesterday it has closed at 8435. It did see beyond 8435 levels also. And I said specifically, I'd used the word stall here. The uptrend that started around 7,900 could stall here. This is a place for a stall. Beautiful place for a stall. The range for a stall is 8435 and beyond that to 8558. This is a zone of stalling. We have only 4 days into FNO expiry and only 7 days into budget, because next week we have one holiday. I don't think the market is going up in a hurry. If there's something that's happening, it could be trading sideways, it could be trading sluggish, it could be trading down. But the zone is choppy. If it opens up high, sell. If it opens lower, perhaps one could buy. It's very, very choppy trade. Stock specific is the idea.
Okay. Mitesh, good morning. You've been slightly negative on the market. What's the trade this morning on the Nifty and Bank Nifty?
Good morning. So negative in the sense that I'm expecting a pause and then possibly some kind of a 1-2 day dip or correction or a slightly bigger pullback than what we have seen in the last few days. I think that kind of view still continues. 8460, 8500 I've highlighted in the last few days is a zone which the Nifty will find it extremely difficult to get past, at least on the current overbought readings on the short-term chart. So I think taking profits around these levels is a good idea, and try to see if you can get a slightly bigger dip to buy into around the 8350 zone. On the stock specific side, though, I think we are still trading with more of long bias. The only thing is that action has shifted more to the mid cap side.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, we are coming back to you for your specific trading calls, but here's perhaps something which investors have to take an investment call on. It's the Axis Bank numbers. Manish Agarwala, the co-head of research at Flip Capital, is joining us with his analysis of the Axis Bank numbers. Morning, Manish. Well, we have laid out all the details, the 105 basis point jump in gross NPLs, the stress in the watch list, the stress outside the watch list. Now tell us, what would you do with the numbers? What are you expecting in terms of this year's price to book, next year, this year's book value, next year's book value, this year's EPS, next year's EPS? What is your growth story expectation in Axis?
Yeah, good morning. The Axis Bank number were below our expectations, and the thing is that the slippages number outside watch list has been an area of concern. So watch list is pretty well known to the market, and that has been very well discounted. But for last 3 quarters, the slippages outside watch list has been growing, and that makes the watch list irrelevant at this point of time. On top of it, we have seen that the balance sheet broader numbers, whether the deposit or the credit side, has actually moderated. And probably given the competition and given the demand for the corporate loan book, so we don't see strong growth in the loan book even for next year. So these are the headwinds which will actually impact the profitability of the bank. And we should not forget that MCLR has seen a huge cut by the competition. And even for, say, Axis Bank, large part of the customer base are still on the base rate. So we expect that those customers to migrate on the MCLR maybe in next 1 or 2 quarters. So that will further put a pressure on the NIMs. So overall, I think the earnings, though we might see a jump in FY18 because of the low base, but the ROA numbers will not go back to the 1% kind of mark, which is basically seen as ideal for the bank. So we expect the recovery to be gradual, and we don't see ROE to actually expand beyond single digit even in FY18.
So Manish, good morning. The stock has already lost almost 30% since the month of September. Would you expect more downside in the near term? And if yes, what are your target prices now?
See, we have a target price of 450. I think the stock will languish around 450 to 480 for time being.